Hello, 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 hello. How's it going, people? Welcome to the stream. Welcome. It is Thursday, the 10th of April. I almost got lost there. It is Thursday, 10th of April. Today, Europa League, Conference League playoffs are happening in Europe and everything. But of course, we are still here. We are talking Arsenal. And obviously, as much as I'm excited that we beat Real Madrid 3-0, life doesn't stop there. Not for us, not surrounding Arsenal, let's be real. And today, on the cards, we're going to talk about Gyokeres because that is picking up some pace on a way I didn't even imagine. To some extent, we're gonna talk about Calafiori, who apparently is back from injuries and started training, and there are other players who are back from injuries and started training. Well, rehabilitation, not training per se, and some other links here or there which we're gonna discuss. It's not gonna happen. Obviously, let's be real, the 99% of the links we see regarding Arsenal don't happen, but we're gonna talk about them, we're gonna see them, we're gonna discuss them, we're gonna see where this leads us, and most importantly, we're gonna talk about and see where does that leave us in terms of Arsenal and how they could be integrated into the team if that actually comes to tuition, of course. So, if you're excited about the stream, smash the like button, subscribe, all that good stuff, and leave your thoughts down in the live chat or comments below if you're watching this as a playback, of course. But first things first, mini mention. Nathan, big up Nathan. Nathan was here saying the Huijsen links and everything, but big thing is, I yesterday thought I would sacrifice 2-3 hours of my life to upgrade my Windows. Turns out, for me, it took only a few minutes because screen capture is back to working, so we can resume proper streaming once again. And as Nathan is saying, we are being linked with Huijsen today, and it is kind of a weird one, but hey, I totally get it because we've been talking about the fact that we need a goalkeeper backup and everything. We need that stuff. We need everything going on. So ultimately, right now, that is something we're gonna get linked with to some extent. We need backups. We need center back backups, of course, especially with potential center backs leaving that we're gonna discuss in a second as well from Arsenal. So definitely, I'm expecting us being linked, not just with strikers, not just with forwards, but also with defenders. One thing that is bothering me, on the other hand, is the fact that I know it's only April, it's early stages, transfer window is still what it feels like miles away. There is lack of links regarding midfielders. That for me is a bit of a worry, I'm not gonna lie, because the only one we have discussed, we have seen some quote-unquote concrete links is only Zubimendi. Besides that, we have seen nothing. So that is a big issue for me, I'm not gonna lie, especially looking at how the situation in midfield can look next season, given that Partey, it looks like he's gonna leave. Still haven't been any discussions or link or reports that we might think about extending his contract, because the way he played against Real Madrid, if we get that Thomas Partey for even 80% of the season, I'm extending that contract. Jorginho is leaving for free. And of course, we potentially might be selling Zinchenko, which means we are losing potential another midfielder. We are playing a midfielder as a left back in Miles Lewis-Skelly, and one of the midfielders is playing at striker. Hence, we are talking about Merino in that regard. So the midfield situation is worrisome. But back to the matter at hand about Huijsen. Apparently, Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, Newcastle, and Spurs have all met with Dean Huijsen's representatives ahead of decision being made on the 19-year-old centre back's future. Bournemouth and player want swift outcome. They want to get the job done, the sooner the better, of course. And it kind of makes sense, let's be real. And release clauses are being quoted at £50 million. Now, £50 million for Huijsen. That is the big thing. I get that, for example, Nathan is disappointed with that link, because it kind of goes against some things Arsenal should be signing right now, because for me, Arsenal should be signing proven winners, established players, even as backups. Yes, we can have some young players in the team, but we already do that. We already have young players in the team who are playing, one of them is playing a major role in Miles Lewis-Skelly. We have Ethan Wanyeri, who is growing, let's just put it that way, especially with Saka back, who's going to get some time in rotation. There are rumors that, for example, Max Dauman might be playing with the main squad next season, Salam Khan for potentially, and all these type of players. So another project player is a bit of an issue, and to some extent as well, given all the players that have come up from the youth system, have you noticed that most of them are attackers? Most of them are midfielders. We haven't promoted actually an out-and-out defender in ages. Put it that way. Ben White and Simba have been purchased. Tierney was purchased. Saliba was purchased. Gabriel was purchased. Kivior was purchased. We have seen Nichols, for example. Aiden haven't left to Man United. And yeah, we haven't seen any promoted defenders for the longest time. Yes, we have some on the bench. We have seen some. But for the main squad on consistent basis, we haven't had one for years, actually, because Rob Holding also was purchased. I'm just thinking, Ainsley Maitland-Niles arguably is the last center back who played even somewhat semi-regularly at Arsenal, who was promoted from the Hale End. Am I forgetting someone? Like, seriously, am I forgetting someone? Or that is actually the case? Because even Ainsley Maitland-Niles, technically he's a midfielder. He played right back because, well, Arsenal made him to play there. And he absolutely refused. He had an option to become a potential Arsenal quote-unquote long-term player there. And obviously, knowing how his career went, the less than 7 been better. Obviously, he's at Lyon playing tonight. But overall, who was the last Arsenal defender promoted from the youth team who basically played somewhat serious role as a rotational player, as the main player in the team? Like now that I start to think about this, it's really hard to remember one. Because we all remember the midfielders, we all remember the attackers, because those are insane amounts. But the defender, that is the big question. We have seen some youngsters on occasion, randomly, but to play some serious role for some time? I don't even remember. I genuinely don't remember. That's how mad it is, actually. 50 million for a backup, another defender. Well, let's be real. You need some quality in the squad. The big issue with this is, right, he's young. Obviously, he plays a big role for Bournemouth, so he's experienced enough to some extent. But for about 20 to 30 million, you can get seasoned veteran to some extent. Let's just say 28 to 30, 32 years old, who wouldn't mind being the backup, sitting on the bench, playing the cup games, being a rotational player if something happens, and who still is a proper quality, who has experience in Europe, who has experience as one of the big guys. So that is also the big thing. Obviously, you can say it's for the future, but I don't think that is the case in this time. We need that. Big up G-Star, big up my guy, big up, yep, another defender. Genuinely another defender. But the biggest reasoning why we are, I think, linked with Huijsen, it's because of this. Like, if I can find it, right, on top, like, quite quickly. If I can find it here, this is because of this. Because according to Caught Offside, go figure, can you trust them or not, Arsenal are willing to sell Jakub Kivior this summer to help fund Mikel Arteta's new summer signings. It's a very precarious time when these news were released, because this report specifically came out, and I kid you not, during halftime between Arsenal and Real Madrid. Kid you not, because it was posted 11 p.m. my time. That basically is halftime for Arsenal Real Madrid. That is a weird one. That's a very random time, right? But apparently Arsenal are willing to let him go. Maybe Arsenal want to sell Gabriel for 100 million. Maybe that is the case, but I don't think Gabriel is the right thing to do with selling him. What about Hato? We're gonna look at Hato in a second. We're gonna look at him in a second, 100%. But you say, like, see, maybe we want to sell. I think Arsenal are kind of preparing for this. Where is it? He was just here. I scrolled past him. This is, again, according to Caught Offside, so go figure. But random report that apparently Real Madrid are set to make an £85 million approach to sign William Saliba from Arsenal. That's obviously strictly a rumor, but I'd say 5 million seems not enough, especially based on the Champions League game we played against Real Madrid. I'd say 5 million doesn't seem enough. It's like 130, 1 to 150. Let's be real. Let's just say it as it is. But overall, yeah, this is a weird one. It's kind of could start a domino effect, but this would be genuinely like Arsenal, as they tend to do, shoot themselves in the foot, because Saliba and Gabriel, no matter how you look at it, they complement each other perfectly, and as a partnership they are one of the best partnerships in Europe as center back duo. If you basically single them out, right, each one of them has their strengths and has their weaknesses, but they are still, I would say, in top 10 in European football as center backs as well. So losing either of them would be for Arsenal like shooting themselves in the foot massively. Because at the end of the day, it would be very, very bad, and replacing them for Arsenal would be nearly impossible. Saliba ain't going this summer. We can hope. Genuinely, that's the only hope. Obviously, based on how we played against Real Madrid, would stand to a point. I'm not gonna lie, I would be quite excited about that if Arsenal actually didn't sell him, especially since we beat Real Madrid 3-0 at home. Would be quite fantastic, I'm not gonna lie. But ultimately, we need to come to terms that at some point someone will leave. Either Gabriel, either Saliba. And see, you mentioned Jorrel Hato, right? Here it is, Jorrel Hato, and he has talked about defending an Arsenal. Yeah, Berta won't sell him for 85, that I totally understand. If Real Madrid came in with 120, 130 million, I think then there would be discussions 100%. Then that amount, it speaks. Let's just put it that way. It speaks. And if you invest it properly and replace Saliba with a proper center back and not just buy another someone like Rob Holding, then it's a complete, very different story. But yeah, see, G-Star, you mentioned Jorrel Hato, and I know Nathan is a massive fan of Hato to Arsenal type of situation going on as well, so it kind of stands to the point. And Jorrel Hato said, I think I've improved a lot this season. He decided to stay at Ajax instead of moving last summer, basically. And especially at left back. Last season I played a lot as center back, but this I'm just a left back. Yes, I did talk to Jurriën Timber about that position change specifically. He made his debut as a fullback and left as a central defender, so basically vice versa. And now at Arsenal he plays everywhere in the back. He's definitely a role model for me. That is basically what he said. Yeah, basically he is just like Timber. Started center back, then moved to left back. Timber started right back, then moved to center back. But they pretty much can play everywhere, and Hato as well. And there were quite a few reports suggesting that Arsenal are exploring a left back option this summer, especially given the fact that it looks like obviously Tierney is leaving for free. Zinchenko might be leaving potentially, or he might be playing in the midfield, maybe. Kivior as well, as we just talked about, potentially is subject to getting sold, which means we have no left backs. We have only Miles Lewis-Skelly then. And then that again means that we need to sign a left back. So that's why I think the Jorrel Hato talks we might see to quite some extent if there is a move potential on the cards for him during the summer, in my opinion. Big up BBK Sports, big up my guy, big up. If you haven't already, go subscribe to BBK Sports, big up. Go subscribe to him, top content, top guy, go subscribe. Big up everyone, and big up to him. But yeah, Jorrel Hato at Arsenal actually would be very interesting. We would have a very interesting dynamic as a left back situation. Two very young left backs. Very, very weird, but actually it could actually to work. Obviously, Hato, if he can play left back and center back, that also would be cover for... oh, sorry, my camera has gone out of focus a bit. So he maybe potentially can cover that... Oh, it went back. That center back spot as well. But since we have Calafiori, does that mean that Calafiori potentially could be long-term replacement as a center back? Like thinking like that. If we just go for Hato, right? And he's a, let's just say, left center back / left back, and he has played whole season as a left back right now, right? So that means left back would be Miles Lewis-Skelly and Hato. Then where does that leave 45 million Calafiori signing? And we all know that Calafiori's best position is center back. we have seen it at Bologna, we have seen it, well, if you have watched Bologna, obviously. We have seen it for Italy, because Italy play 3 at the back, and as a left-sided center back, he's very good there. So does that raise the big question that Calafiori is becoming in a 4 at the back formation as center back, as a proper backup? Then again, Nathan just said 50 million for a backup when we talk about Huijsen, right? But if we sign Hato, right, it has all indications that he actually would be the left back and Calafiori would be the left-sided center back, which means if Gabriel doesn't leave, we have a 45 million backup on the bench anyways. So that is a bit of a weird one, isn't it? Timber right back, half back, but that's fine. Yeah, and then Miles Lewis Skelly goes in the 8. I don't know how this works. Because Lewis Skelly debuted for Arsenal last September, right? It's been half a year. And he genuinely looks better than, I would say, 90% of left backs we have seen at Arsenal in the last decade, arguably even. And he's still trying to figure things out. Obviously, what's playing in favor of Miles Lewis Skelly is the fact that he's young, he's strong, by default he's a midfielder, so he has good technical ability, good movement, and everything, so he can pass, he can get out of tight spots, he can get out of press and double teams and everything. Defensively, he lacks, and it's also very, very visible. Let's just say it as it is. Obviously, it could be due to experience, but also the fact that it's not his natural position. Let's be real, he's a number 8. Or number 6, how you look at it, mostly an 8 in a way. So, that as well raises the big question in that regard. Lukeba? I don't know. Calafiori is here to replace Gabriel. It looks that way, doesn't it? We signed him. However, he hasn't played much as center back, has he, for Arsenal? He only plays left back. That is the weird thing in this. If he would be the replacement, he should be playing more as the left-sided center back. And given his injuries at Arsenal in general, it's a bit different. But obviously, playing left back and playing left-sided center back, and center back in general, let's be real, 2 completely different positions, aren't they? One requires stamina, running, knowing insides and outs of going forward, being back. As a center back, it's a bit different, isn't it? You don't have this run down the left side, invert, and all this stuff. So that is the big thing. However, based on what we have seen, right? I don't know if you have paid attention to this or not, of Calafiori at center back, or even as a left back, let's be real. If he is the Gabriel replacement, we are screwed to some extent. Because whether you like it or not, that makes our center back pairing weaker. And I mean that physically. Because I've seen Calafiori getting shoved off the ball by 5'8" guys, and that is genuinely not good. Defensively, it is a bit of a liability about the tackling and everything, so that is a bit of a weird one as well. And it could be bigger disadvantage than advantage. So I don't think long-term Calafiori could be the replacement. Calafiori looks good in a 3 center back formation. That is the case. When he's one of that pushes forward, the other one's the more physical one, and the other one is a mix of both. And we don't have that. We play 2 center backs, and I think just like Ben White at center back, because he came from Brighton where they played 3 center backs, right? He would be exposed in 2 center back formation, quite heavily exposed, just like Ben White was. So that for me is a massive concern. If long term Calafiori is the replacement for Gabriel, that is really big concern, because Gabriel is the guy who does all the dirty work, who has the physicality, the ability, and everything. And I don't see any center back at Arsenal having that right now, and that for me is a big issue going long term. And they want us to bring in Ola Aina as Tomiyasu cover. Ola Aina. He's available for free, so maybe, just maybe. I like Lukeba a lot, yeah, the 2 with Saliba, but will be 50 M's. Well, that's the same thing. Huijsen 50 million, Lukeba 50 million. Well, you either pay or you don't get him, so it basically pick your poison. Tommy needs to go, yeah, basically. Tomiyasu needs to go 100 grand a week for basically being injured for a year now almost. And he's gonna be back only November, December. So it means for a year and a half, he will have played only 12 minutes. This season, he has played 12 minutes for Arsenal. 12. Heck of a salary, isn't it? 100 grand a week, 400 grand a month, half a year. Think about it. That's 600 grand in a year and a half. 600 grand, year and a half, for playing 12 minutes only. Dude, if I got paid, let's just say, I don't know, 60,000 a year, for example, right? That's every hypothetical. For doing 12 minutes of work for the whole year. Please do it. Please, I beg of you, do it. Why not? Genuinely, why not? I would be all for it, let's be real. Not gonna lie, but yeah, that's from the what if scenarios. Anyways, let's look at some news actually going around the clock as we are talking about here. Now it's the time, finally. According to rumors, here it is, we start. Victor Gyökeres talk. Victor Gyökeres' agent apparently, allegedly, right, yesterday was at the game, 2 days ago, was at the game against Real Madrid. I didn't see him on cameras. I haven't seen these reports. I haven't seen any pictures or anything. But this was released before the game, 2 days before it was released on Sunday. That apparently his representatives will be in the stands. I didn't see them. Camera didn't turn to them because they usually do, but maybe they got told not to. And I didn't see any pictures of that. But if that is the case, holy moly. Holy smokes. Anyways, goalkeeper situation at Arsenal. We all know that we have Raya's number 1. We all know that Neto is on loan and he's leaving at the end of the season. We have Karl Hein who's on loan at Real Valladolid. What we gonna do with him in the summer also is a big question mark for him. Whether we gonna sell him, whether we gonna do what, whether he's gonna be the backup, go figure. Let's just say that. Go bloody figure at the end of the day. But Juan Garcia is still on the cards for Arsenal. And Arsenal are willing to pay £17 million buyout clause. £17 million, that's actually kind of cheap. For Juan Garcia after interest from clubs in Serie A and Bundesliga in the 23-year-old goalkeeper. Now that comes from El Nacional. Not the most credible source, let's just put it that way. But the biggest thing is, for me, right, that thing I totally get. Raya is too comfortable. He needs some competition. Although what he does on the pitch, it is completely different, right? But if I'm Juan Garcia, I'm 23 years old, and I get an offer from Bundesliga, right? For example, Bayer Leverkusen, they are in a desperate need for a good goalkeeper because Hradecki is crap. Let's be real. His backup option is also crap. Since Leno, arguably, they haven't had a good goalkeeper. Since we signed Leno from Bayer Leverkusen, they haven't had that type of level of goalkeeper. So if Bayer Leverkusen comes knocking for him, why wouldn't I go there? There are rumors, obviously, that Maignan might move to Man City potentially. If that is a possibility that I become AC Milan's number 1 goalkeeper, why wouldn't I move there? Because I would get consistent game time. I would get a chance. Although it's gonna be tough, but to break into Spanish national team. Obviously there is Raya, there's Unai Simon, there is Ramiro and other goalkeepers, but I still would have a chance because I get proper game time. Coming to Arsenal would to some extent mean that he is not gonna develop as much. Now the big thing is though, compared to David Raya, Juan Garcia is quite tall, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm not mistaken, Juan Garcia is... How tall is he? He's 6'4". Juan Garcia is 6'4", compared to David Raya, who is 6 foot tall, or 6'1", something like that. So that is, I think, for Arsenal, that is the one thing. Arsenal have a very short goalkeeper, which obviously is one of the biggest contributors why he has made such impressive double saves during the season. Lower center of gravity, better springs in legs, quicker possibility to recover and get off the ground, which allows maybe to make some of these double saves, obviously. Because if we had a taller goalkeeper, there's a big possibility he doesn't make those saves. The professional goalkeepers have said that, ex-goalkeepers have said that. So that is that. That's credit to David Raya, how he is learning to utilize his height to maximum advantage, even though he's 3 feet shorter than Juan Garcia, which is a lot. I'm not gonna lie, that actually is a lot. But Juan Garcia as a backup, I wouldn't say no to that. 17 million as well seems very good price, especially given that last summer they wanted 30 million. So that's basically the price has halved. What I wanted to say has halved. So that is in a very good spot. Now, goalkeeper will be a discussion unless Arsenal decide that they want Hein as the backup or Setford or someone like that. But time only will tell. Time only will tell in that regard. Now, as we all know, Arsenal have been very on fire, let's just put it that way, for Nico Williams. We all know that Arteta really wants him. Left side for us is screwed anyways to some extent, so we want a proper backup in that. Not backup, a proper starter for that spot. And obviously Nico Williams already last summer was identified as arguably the main target. Let's just put it that way. And now recently, Hansi Flick has given Barcelona the green light to sign Nico Williams. And apparently, Barcelona agree. The club will restart negotiating with him shortly. And this is a big issue for me. Whether I want, in this instance, right, Nico Williams is irrelevant. But there's a big possibility that this deal might go through, right? And I'm saying that because today I read in the news, and obviously that's the rumors as well, that Chelsea are willing to pay Barcelona 80 million for Rafinha. That I read today. And if that is true, which means massive amounts of money will be pumped into Barcelona, and a spot to sign a new player will open up. And obviously they need a left winger, like a somewhat decent left winger, right? Under Hansi Flick and everything. And I would say Nico Williams in that regard fits them to a T. Wages, player, 50 million only. So that actually works for them as a charm. Now, as much as, for example, I don't think Nico Williams for us is the left wing answer. I'm going to say this right now. For me, Kvaratskhelia was. I'm going to be honest with you, and we missed the opportunity to sign him in the January transfer window for 64 million pounds, right? Which still kind of pisses me off because he's at PSG. Kvaratskhelia is getting less money than Martinelli is getting at Arsenal at the moment. But if we don't get Nico Williams for the left wing, right? Who are we gonna get? Because people can say Lookman. But Lookman has been linked with Forest, with Newcastle, and with West Ham, if I'm not mistaken today. I think it was Newcastle, Forest, and someone else. So, name me another left winger who would be open to leaving the club. Because people are gonna name Barcola, 100%. But I don't see him leaving PSG. PSG are basically almost in semi-finals of Champions League, right? If we go through, big possibility we're gonna face them, right? And even though they side Kvaratskhelia, their attack is Dembele, Barcola more often than not, and Kvaratskhelia depends whether they start Desiree Doué or who, but ultimately he's gonna play, and a lot. Enrique has found perfect balance in the team. He has built like a mini Barcelona in a way. Think about it. He has Kvaratskhelia, Dembele, and for example Barcola. That's his MSN pretty much, but you know, level a bit lower level MSN. He has midfield of Vitinha, Fabian Ruiz, and who is the third one? And I forgot, Emery or someone like that. That's his Busquets, Iniesta, Xavi. And then the defense is a bit different, but still the same rules applies. The weakest part of PSG's side to some extent is the goalkeeper. And let's be real, if we look at Barcelona at the time, their weakest side also was the goalkeeper, because Victor Valdez, compared to the other players, was level below. So I know it's a weird comparison, but if you kind of get my thought, you will get it, right? But yeah, who we gonna get? You see, you say Rafael Leao, right? If I'm not mistaken, he has 150 million release clauses. 150 million. Rafael Leao release clauses. Yeah. According to Friday edition of newspaper Gazzetta dello Sport, Leao, you obviously don't see it, but Leao will have 170 million release clause in his new contract with Serie A giants, although it could rise up to 175 million. Do you think we're gonna pay that? In which universe are we ever gonna pay that? We are not, let's be real. Which again brings me back to question I basically stated about 5 minutes ago. Who are we gonna get for left wing? Because Arteta has tried to replace this left wing side for years. He wanted Mudryk for 100 million to replace Martinelli, dodged the bullet, but hey, he wanted it. Then he got Trossard, still tried. He wanted to sign Nico Williams, and then there was another left winger we were linked with which we didn't sign, thank God, but as well the same thing applies. So now the big question is, who we gonna go and sign? Because for me, there aren't that many wingers we can actually go for. Maybe Trincao from Sporting Lisbon, maybe, just maybe. 2 Sporting Lisbon players in one window, who knows? I'm actually struggling because for me, Kvaratskhelia was the answer. 63 million for the caliber of player Kvaratskhelia is, it's pocket change, let's be real. We really missed the boat one. And Mikel Arteta likes to brag that he wants to maximize every window, but in January transfer window, he had 3-4 opportunities to sign one, and he didn't. So that is the big question. What the hell is going on there? I am getting news that somebody has scored. Lyon 1-0. Spurs against Eintracht is 1-1. Lyon are 1-0 up. Did you see what the comments Matic and Onana said? That was actually kind of nuts. Who scored? Almada scored for Lyon. Who scored for Spurs and Eintracht? I would assume Ekitike scored, ironically enough, and Pedro Porro scored for James Maddison. How are the stats looking for the game? This looks like a very exciting game. Half an hour played, 2 shots for Spurs, 1 shot for Eintracht. Looks very exciting, I'm not gonna lie. Anyhow, moving swiftly on, Bodo Glimt beat Lazio 2-0 on the snowy pitch. Ooh, Betis have scored. Isco? Bakambu scored from Fornals' assist. Fornals, you remember him at West Ham? Fiorentina 1-0 up. Well, who is it? Ranieri has scored. Ooh, interesting. Against whatever that club is. And the rest of the games are pretty much dead at the moment. So it is what it is. So who are we gonna sign for left wing? That for me is the biggest question. Who are we gonna get linked with even? That is the big question. Because we have been linked with such dross over the years. It's actually kind of scary. Obviously, with Andrea Berta being here as the sporting director, I'm actually quite interested to see what kind of deals he will pull off. That I'm totally saying. And as much as I'm interested in players he's gonna sign, I'm more interested in the players and how he's gonna sell them. Because I have never seen Arsenal to sell players well, let's be real. We have never seen that. And with Andrea Berta coming in, there is that small hope that there are changes in the tides. Let's just put it that way. Anyways, Arsenal's new kit has been leaked for next season. From afar it looks nice. From looking close, that Gothic A, right, on the shirt, kinda ruins it for me, I'm not gonna lie. That Gothic A kinda ruins it for me, I'm not gonna lie. But hey, it is what it is. Anyhow. And that's not it on Victor Gyökeres. We're gonna keep on Victor Gyökeres. Apparently Arsenal are ready to offer Gyökeres a 5-year deal. 5-year deal, man. Worth 10 million a season. 10 million, you know. Chelsea and United are unwilling to match those wages. Well, It comes from just Arsenal, so don't trust that, because that is more miss than a hit I have ever seen for Arsenal, let's be real. But if this is true, is actually kinda insane. 10 million a season, right? If we divide by 52, right? Well, not 52, we have to divide by 12. Well, 52 technically. 50, that would be 200, right? 200. 52, that's about 180 to 190,000 a week, which seems kind of low price, I'm not gonna lie, given how much Havertz and Jesus are on. Did Berta fire the guy who just hired him? Well, basically. Yep, James Ellis is leaving. Yep, he is leaving. He is leaving. I have this saved somewhere as well. Where is it? 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 Wait, let me refresh this so I can... So it's easier for me to track this. Where is it? 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 Here we go. Arsenal head of recruitment, James Ellis, is expected to leave Arsenal at the end of the season. The Englishman is believed to be among the staff who will not survive Andreas Berta's new regime. Clap, 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 clap. Happy days. Happy bloody days, I'm not gonna lie. Andrea Berta has come in and it looks like he's ruling with iron fist, basically. And that is something I love to see. That is something I love to see, because if it looks like from outside that everyone's very complacent in the club. Everyone feels very safe, very protected. Nothing's gonna happen to them. Andrea Berta comes in. Well, you're sacked. You're sacked. You're fired. You're fired. You four, yeah, you're gonna get sold. And you might be sacked also soon if you don't win a cup. And that I'm talking about Mikel Arteta. Yeah, that is nuts from Berta, genuinely. Cold. Berta is ruthless, like... Exactly, ruthless. He came in and with an iron fist instantly. Bang, you're gone, you're gone, you're gone. He's like Gordon Ramsay in the kitchen. If you have seen Hell's Kitchen, you'll like you, and you. F off, F off, F off, F off, F off, F off, F off. Get out. That's about it. That's how Berta is gonna do things. It looks that way. Exactly. Sometimes you need to make an example of someone to warn the others. Sometimes, yeah. And I think it will do very good, because everyone maybe will pull out the finger up out of their rear ends and actually start doing some work properly. That is the big hope. Actually, that is the big hope. And on top of all that, today it got announced as well that on Mikel Arteta's staff, like Cuesta, Erpod Albert, Kanya, Nicolas Jover, Miguel Molina, have all signed new deals at the club. And it's all completed, as calling the reports. They are considered crucial by the club and of course the coach Mikel Arteta. And apparently all of their contracts align with Mikel Arteta's contract at Arsenal. Obviously Mikel Arteta's contract runs out in 2027. If I'm not mistaken, right? Mikel Arteta's contract runs out in 2027. And apparently, all of his staff members' contracts as well have been now extended till 2027. Now, big questions, big questions. Because obviously we needed to extend the coaching staff. I'm not gonna deny that, but does that mean that they all are staying? Or does that mean that they're just giving them some security for one more season just in case? That for me is the big question. Because at some point, like, I would assume that if Mikel Arteta goes, those guys go as well. Because the new coach who comes in 100% will want his own staff. Like, stands to a point. Stands also within a reason. So that for me is the big question, because if Arteta goes, for example, right, he underperforms, he screws something up, he gets sacked. Does that mean the rest of the guys go too? That for me is the big question. Or they will stick with the new manager. Like, that is one of the biggest questions when you extend these type of contracts. However, they all align with Mikel Arteta's contract, so that is the big interesting part in all of this. For me personally. Anyhow, in other news, do you like golf? Do you like golf in your free time? Arsenal have released new merch. Go buy some. New merch from Arsenal. Tea off in style, and I'm not talking about drinking tea here. Arsenal x Adidas golf range is available now. More match. Hey, do you like golf? Do you like overpaying from stuff you can get in other stores for 3 times the less money? Go to arsenal.com and shop. Basically, that's what it is. But hey, it is what it is. G-Star instantly says, nah, I'm good. But yeah, Arsenal have released new match, so let's see. Let's see what's happening with that. Let's see. Wait, let's check this match, by the way. Yeah, shop now. That's okay. Shop now. Cancel. Adidas Golf Mock Polo shirt. Holy crap. Polo shirt for 60 quid, you know. Arsenal Adidas Golf White Performance Polo shirt, £35. Adidas Golf Black Hoodie, £70. Adidas Golf Textual 1/4 Zip Top, £55. Oh, here we go. Adidas Golf Travel Bag with Arsenal logo on it, £160. So £40 bag. If you put on Arsenal badge, it's £160 bag. Kind of interesting, isn't it? Available in different colors as well. Arsenal Adidas red performance shirt. What else is here? Golf blue jacket, £110. Dude, these prices are kind of nuts, I'm not gonna lie. Adidas Kids Golf Rain jacket. Holy crap. £50. Holy moly. Arsenal black cap, £25. Arsenal Adidas golf duffel bag, £50. Golf bucket hat, £25. 45. Look at this. £45 for an umbrella. £45 for bloody umbrella, you know? Dude, that rain must be made of gold or something. £45 for an umbrella. What the hell am I seeing here? £45 for a bloody umbrella, you know? That is actually some insane pricing, if you ask me. That is actually kinda insane if you ask me. You know, £45 for an umbrella, you know. That's okay. I see. Let's move on. Nobody wants this golf match. Anyhow, this is one of the biggest reasons and hopes that Arsenal are going through against Real Madrid, by the way. Because if there is one team in Champions League that can come back, well, maybe 3 now with PSG and Barcelona, right? But if there is a team you are definitely, if you had to put some money on a chance that they can come back, it's Real Madrid. At Bernabeu, it's gonna be a completely different game, at least I expect it, right? But Arsenal have not conceded more than 2 goals in a match, 2 goals only, by the way, for 491 days. That's 1 year and 1/3 of a year extra. 1.3 years, Arsenal haven't conceded more than 2 goals. That actually is an insane stat. That is actually insane stat. And to be honest, if you want to win some cups and everything, that is what you should be going for. Obviously, you can play like Barcelona and just smash about 158 goals in about 60 games or something like that. But we don't have the attacking power of that, let's be real. So then you'll have to cement your defense, and it looks like Arsenal have done that. But 491 days and with only 2 or less goals conceded, that is massive, I'm not gonna lie. Anyhow, here are transfer news that got me excited. Pause. Apparently, Arsenal are preparing a 30 million offer, and I kid you not, 30 million offer for the Turkish number 10, who plays for Real Madrid, Arda Guler, who apparently is not happy with his game time. Now, first things first, don't take this as gospel because it comes from Fikayas, right? So that is one of those Sun Sport type of level places, right? But ultimately, it's in the news, we're gonna talk about it. Because Arda Guler is one of those players I would love to have at Arsenal. Young, explosive, direct, with technical ability, fantastic shot on him, long, short, great passing, great dribbling, and lots of potential, right? And on top of that, obviously, he has had some injury issues since joining from Fenerbahce, right, to Real Madrid. That was quite, unlucky for him that he got those injuries, but he hasn't seen too much game time, if I'm not mistaken, at Real Madrid. Specifically this season. Arda Guler, let's check this. Arda Guler. See? Champions League, 7 games. Okay. In La Liga, he has played only 20 games. 20 games in La Liga, 711 minutes played. So that's basically 35 minutes on average per game he plays. That is, for him, I get why he would want to leave. Only 35 minutes on average in La Liga? That is not good enough, is it? And even here, overall, he has played nearly 1,200 minutes this season in 33 games. And that comes out to be 35-36 minutes on average per game. Like, that is not enough for him. That is generally not enough for him. Copa del Rey, he has very good stats, by the way. Very good stats in Copa del Rey. In La Liga, it's not so great because he also doesn't play much. He gets very limited time. Real Madrid bought him only for 20 million euros. We were linked with him last summer, if I'm not mistaken. We actually were linked with him last summer. And that is the biggest thing. Why we didn't go for him, that for me is the big question. Why we didn't go for Arda Guler last summer? Was it only because Real Madrid just got there first or something? But yeah, Arda Guler at Arsenal, I think he would fit in very, very nicely within this team. For me personally, if I look at this, I think he would fit in very nicely in this team, and I would be quite happy if we signed him as a number 10 off the bench and everything. Because for me personally, he would get much more minutes at Arsenal. I just put it that way. Because when you play for Real Madrid, you get minutes, right? How many, that is a bit different question. Let's just different topic, because he's behind Brahim Diaz, Bellingham, obviously, Endrick to some extent, Arda Guler even. Brahim Diaz. I'm talking about Arda Guler here. So there are definitely some question marks. Rodrigo even, because he can play right wing and number 10. So he can also provide extra backups for Saka and Odegaard, just like Ranieri can. So we can, again, kill 2 birds with 1 stone in this regard. And he actually still is he's a very young and very good prospect to have in the team. I would absolutely be ecstatic if Arsenal signed him for only 30 million. That is a risk I'm willing to take. Much rather sign Güler for 30 million than Fabio Vieira for 35. Let's just put it that way. Anyhow, Mikel Merino, since moving to striker, has 6 goals in 10 games, which is kind of nuts if you think about it. For a guy who has never played a striker, never ever in his career, he has said it himself, he's a number 6/number 8. Like, situation, well, Mikel Arteta has forced him to play up top. And he is smashing it, let's be real. He is smashing it. Because since it's Merino, nobody gives him that many props. Let's just put it that way. Because we need a striker, we all scream for that. But think about it. 6 goals in 10 games, right? If he was just a regular summer striker signing, January summer striker signing in January, we go out, we sign someone like Watkins, someone like that, and they score 6 goals in 10 games. Especially against teams like Real Madrid, right? And Chelsea, and we win and everything. Against Leicester, he scores the winning goal. we would say that's actually been a very decent signing for January transfer window. But since it's a Merino, it's a completely different story, let's be real, right? But at the end of the day, he's a midfielder who we have pushed up to be at striker, right? So that is, again, only on Arsenal and Mikel Arteta and the recruitment team because we haven't recruited properly. And we still haven't replaced Aubameyang after 3.5 years. But the mad part is, yes, he looks a bit awkward on the ball. However, the tactics how Arteta has shifted them a bit, it works because he drags out defenders out of position more. He plays in those half pockets, if that makes sense to you, if you pay attention to the game. And he's not a striker, so he doesn't have the actual striker movements. Which, again, as bad as it sounds, it's also an advantage because defenders kind of know what to expect from strikers because every striker has things they do. There are and many strikers and all the strikers have certain things they do. Everyone does the same. Merino, since he's not a striker, he does it differently. And that gives him massive advantage. And what makes this thing even more crazy is the fact that he's doing better at striker than Kai Havertz. That is the mad part. 65 million for Havertz to play as a midfielder. Mikel Arteta's words himself. 65 million to play in the midfield. And when that didn't work out, he put him as a striker. He went on a purple patch at the end of the season last year and everything, so we didn't sign a striker. And like if you think about it, it is kind of nuts that he has that many goals for a position he has never played, given that Havertz has played there quite a bit. He plays as an attacking player his whole life pretty much. And Merino has never been there. That is actually quite impressive, if you ask me. If you ask me, because it's pretty much evident that Mikel Arteta refuses to play Butler or Yadeji at striker as well. He has never kicked a ball. He's 22, 23. He has never kicked a ball for Arsenal at striker, so that is kind of insane. Let's just put it as it is. So that again is the big question. Random reports again from Fikayas today. That Arsenal are willing to pay 125 million for Inter and Argentina striker Lautaro Martinez. Not too sure that's, again, money well spent. Because if you ask me, this is something similar like the Isak thing. Yes, technically we can sign Isak. Yes, technically we can sign Lautaro Martinez. Obviously Lautaro has signed a new deal. He said he would love to retire at Inter Milan and everything. He sees his whole career there and all that stuff. But if we take that all out of the equation, 125 million. Isak is 140, 150. For me, that again would in a way spell mismanaged funds. Because I've been saying this for the longest time, it's not how much money you spend, it's how you spend it, right? And for those 125 million, we can sign Gyokeres, which would be about 65, 70 million, which leave us with 50 million more to spend. And that means we can sign a winger, Nico Williams if you want to, you can sign a midfielder, you can sign a defender, you can sign a goalkeeper, you can basically purchase these more decent players for the team than rather just focus on one position. That for me is the big thing because they're cheaper and to some extent better options available. Whether it's going to happen or not remains to be seen. But we were linked with Lautaro Martinez vaguely over the years. But since Andrea Berta has come in, we have been linked with Gyokeres because he also wanted him at Atletico Madrid, but they overruled him and they bought Julian Alvarez. Obviously that has worked well to some extent. And they got Sorloth as well, so that has worked out for them. But for Arsenal, we haven't been this to some extent so loudly linked with Lautaro Martinez ever. Well, just because Andrea Berta has come in, there are some more loud links. Let's just put it that way. Anyways, back to some positive news, squad depth-wise. Riccardo Calafiori. When the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie, Calafiori. Riccardo Calafiori was back in training today with the Arsenal squad, which is quite nice to see. Obviously, we saw him do the splits in the Nations League or whatever it's called for the World Cup qualifiers or whatever that was, and he was alone. He just slipped on the grass, did the splits, and did everything wrong. But he is back, which is good news because we already are short in defensive department with the injuries, especially center back department. If we get him back, we actually have options for that center back spot. Kivior, we have Calafiori now next to Saliba. We can see and entertain these ideas to see where they go, basically, at the end of the day. That is good news, I'm not gonna lie. As much as I don't think Calafiori is the answer for left back spot for us, right? As a center back, time only will tell. But again, I'm still think Calafiori defensively as a center back will be the same situation as Ben White for Arsenal when he just joined as a center back. Because those two, predominantly when they played center back in their previous teams, they played in a team that played 3 at the back formation, which means he was one of the 3 center backs. And then he looks actually good because they balance all 3 center backs each other out. They can cover more ground defensively and it helps them defensively. And when they play, basically, when they have to defend, it's 5 at the back essentially, or 7 or 8 at the back if you include the midfield as well. So for me, time only will tell, but I still, until he proves me wrong, I still don't think Calafiori is the answer for left back, and more importantly for a 2 center back formation. I'm a firm believer that if we played 3 center backs, he would be the right man potentially, but 2 center backs, I'm not sure it is the case. And on top of that, I've seen some people scream very loudly and ask for Calafiori to start against Real Madrid at Bernabeu. I'm sorry, but what? Why? Genuinely, why? I wouldn't start him at Bernabeu, I'm not gonna lie, so hey, it might be just me, but it is what it is. Anyways, quick gander at the games. United have scored 1-1. Who scored for United? Lenny Yoro has scored for Manchester United. Real Betis 2-0 up against Jagiellonia. Isco Rodriguez, J. Rodriguez. Interesting. The youngster Rodriguez has scored. Isco is on a yellow, that's not good. But otherwise, Bakambu has scored. It's actually kind of nuts. It's actually kind of nuts if you ask me. I think like it's pretty much a guarantee that that Real Betis are going through. It's just the matter of time. Pellegrini, by the way, is doing fantastic job there. He is doing a phenomenal job at Betis. They are unbeaten about 9 or 10 games in a row at home as well, if I'm not mistaken. So he is doing some fantastic jobs. Spurs still 1-1. How Bilbao haven't scored? This for me is one of the big questions. Proper got the red card in the 13th minute. A central center back, by the way. They have Rice as well. But yeah, how they haven't scored? Cherny, Hadji, Yilmaz, Balogun. The wrong Balogun, but Balogun as well. Sterling, also the wrong Sterling, but they do. They have like half the Arsenal team. Nico Williams and Iñaki Williams both are playing. DeMarcos, he's still alive, by the way. He is one of those players. Luque, Alvarez, Vivian Ruiz de Galareta, Jurgizar, Sunset. Surprised Sunset hasn't done anything. Are they good even? They're pressing. They are pushing for it. They will score eventually. You would like to think at least that way. Anyways, back to Arsenal and matter at hand. Back to Arsenal and the matters at hand. Now, we all know that Arsenal need a striker. Right? Let's not beat around the bush here. We all know Arsenal need a striker. Here is the big thing. Liam Delap. Ipswich striker. We all know what he's about and everything, right? If Ipswich Town get relegated, according to Sky Sports, Liam Delap will have a £30 million release clauses. He is attracting interest from many clubs in Europe and the Premier League. He currently has 12 Premier League goals and 2 assists this season. For a season where he plays for, first things first, Ipswich. Second of all, for 30 games at Ipswich this season, 12 goals, 2 assists. That's pretty much a half a point per game ratio. A point every 2 games on average almost. For a backup striker, I actually would sign him. I'm not gonna lie, Liam Delap, 30 million, if this is true, 30 million for the backup, I actually would be for it. I actually would be all for it. I'm not gonna lie. Liam Delap, let me know what you think in the chat, but I would buy him. 30 million, that seems very cheap for a backup. Premier League proven, can finish and everything. I know people would say potentially, what's its face? Jonathan David on free, potentially, right? We are not, some say we are not going to sign two strikers given that we have still Jesus and Havertz. And also that could be the case, I'm not going to lie. But I kind of think that we can increase Delap's salary by about 20-30 grand. He comes to Arsenal easily, let's be real. There's no shadow of a doubt. We would guarantee him game time in cups, in rotation. He definitely would start some games, definitely would play some games. But let's just say we sign Gyokeres and we sign Delap. Combined, that is about, what, 100 million? Something like that. 65 million about to 70 for Gyokeres, 30 for Delap. That's nearly 100 million for two strikers. I think that's good business. Especially if we manage to get rid of Jesus. We don't see Havertz up top anymore. That also would be quite fantastic, I'm not gonna lie. So, for me personally, that spells all the good things. That genuinely spells all the good things. Obviously, time only will tell. I think he definitely is gonna get a Premier League move. 100% he's gonna get Premier League move. Where, that is the big question. Maybe, for example, if Leeds get promoted this season, which looks like it could happen, maybe they're gonna sign him. They're also now starting to sell Ian Meslier. If you're watching this and if you want to buy him for your club in real life, don't. He's not good, let's just say it that way. Maybe Leeds will sign Delap, although they need to replace Bamford. He's too injury prone, he's just not it, let's be real. So maybe Liam Delap could be the answer. Maybe someone like West Ham could sign him. They totally have missed the boat with signing Fulkrug. Antonio is also very old and he's getting on quite a bit. So they definitely need a replacement, potentially. Maybe Crystal Palace could sign him, especially given the fact that Atletico Madrid won Jean-Philippe Mazzetta. They are very interested in Mazzetta signing, potentially. There are quite a few Premier League teams, very good Premier League teams, even mid-table and maybe upper-tier teams that definitely would benefit from signing Liam Delap. And I kid you not, given Arsenal's striker situation, as the secondary striker, I also would entertain signing Liam Delap. I'm not gonna lie. Since we result many times to crossing the ball, for example, right? Crossing the ball many times and just whipping in the crosses, and prime example for that was Inter Milan game where we completed 46 crosses. Having Delap at the end of those, with low-driven, high-end crosses, it actually could work in our favor. Let's be real, with Merino crashing the box as well from midfield and Declan Rice. Maybe if we get a corner, some of the big towers, maybe we actually could do that. Maybe, just maybe. For me, it makes a lot of sense. I'm just gonna put it that way. Whether it's gonna happen or not remains to be seen. Although, as much as I think it makes sense, I don't think Arsenal are gonna make it any sense. Now, some financial news. Arsenal's Champions League prize money path. So, if we beat Real Madrid and advance to semi-finals, we make 13 million extra, right? If we reach the final, it's 15.5, and if we win, that's extra 5.4 million, right? Now, think about this. If we beat Real Madrid and we stop at semi-finals, right? The total, if Arsenal go all the way, it's 89 million. That's the total amount Arsenal can win. Now, if we reach the semi-finals and we stop there, we basically lose 21 million. So that's 68.7 million in the bank. 68.7 million in the bank if we even reach semi-finals and get past Real Madrid. That is enough to sign Gyökeres alone. First things first. So there are no excuses for not signing about 4 or 5 players, big players this summer as well, let's be real. Especially with all the outgoings and prize monies and all that. Now if we reach the final, that's extra 15.5, like, seems quite small amount to be honest if you think about it. Only nearly 90 million for going from 8 games in group stages till the final. Seems quite a small amount to some extent, I'm not gonna lie. But hey, it's Champions League, it is what it is, and if we go all the way, we are doing this. Now, And the last bit of news for today from me to you. Apparently, Kai Havertz, after that surgery, is beginning his rehab program at the Soborelci Training Center. He's starting to do his rehabilitation. He's starting to learn how to use his foot again. And he's starting to basically train on the early requirement regime. Good news, long term, because as much as I don't think Kai Havertz is the guy for us up top in the midfield or in general for our team, I don't wish injuries on anyone. And I wish that he comes back and he has a good career, and even if we sell him, best of luck for him wherever he goes. He's still not the guy for me. He's still not the guy for the Arsenal to lead us over the line. And we can obviously say 65 million, right? If we paid 35 million for him, put him on about 130 grand, nobody would say nothing. Let's be real. Nobody genuinely would say nothing. Even if we sign him as a midfielder, as we sign him right now, as Mikel Arteta said, and then we throw him up at striker, nobody would say nothing. But it's the price tag. It's the salary, predominantly what basically pisses the Arsenal fan base off the most. Let's be real. Because if he was getting paid 130 grand, he was 35 million signing, he was providing the points he is. Because Kai Havertz overall is actually having a decent season, if we look at it that way. Even though he's been injured and everything, in Premier League he has 9 goals, 3 assists in 10 games, right? In Champions League, 8 games, 4 goals, 2 assists. In all competitions, he has 15 goals, 5 assists. That's 20 points in 34 games. So for a guy who technically is not a striker per se, that is actually not a bad season in all comps in 34 games. Let's be real. The issue with this is, we are a team that is going for a Premier League title. And for a team that is going for a Premier League title in January, let's just put it that way, to have a guy who is our top goal scorer, who's on 9 goals, that is sackable offense alone for Mikel Arteta and the board. Not the board, but the scouting staff, because we haven't done our proper job. That is the big thing for me. But hey, it is what it is. 9 goals, 3 assists. Wait, let me check Merino quickly. 9 goals, 3 assists. Mikel Merino, where are you? Mikel Merino this season. 8 goals, 2 assists in 36 games. And he has 6 goals, 1 assist in Premier League. And he's played about 4 games as a striker as well. And he has scored in every single one. That's how nuts it is. But yeah, best of luck with Kai Havertz on his rehabilitation and everything. Hopefully nothing goes wrong. Hopefully he's back for the next season. The sooner the better. Whether I like him or not, I'm a football fan foremost, and I don't wish injuries on anyone. Let's just put it that way. But yeah, it looks like he's back. Calafiori is also back in training, so that is some good news on Arsenal's front in terms of potentially playing him as a replacement, as a rotation even. Let's see. Tomorrow, it's Friday. It's going to be Arsenal versus Brentford preview. It's going to be some more talk about transfers and more talk about rotation, because definitely that will be a massive discussion between us, 100%. So if you don't want to miss that, subscribe. Like this stream, subscribe, so we can talk about all that together tomorrow. And we're going to do our starting 11 / predicted starting 11, all that good stuff. But for today, to some extent, no, not to some extent, ultimately, I am out. Have a nice evening. Have a nice Thursday evening. Have a nice Friday tomorrow, last day of the work week. So that is quite fantastic. But for today, yeah, as I said, like, comment down below, subscribe if you're new around here. Take care, stay safe, have a nice evening, and see you very, very soon.